So guys, in today's video, we're going to be breaking down how sales reps can make more money than business owners by using a simple formula to dissect how you can actually improve and avoid getting stuck in that 3 to 5K a month mark. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ayub Al-Ashi. I'm the co-founder of Rizq Rise. Alhamdulillah, in the last couple of years, I've closed a couple of $1 million online using remote high-ticket sales as the vehicle. And today, inshallah, we're going to be breaking down how you can utilize a simple formula to identify where you're lacking it and how to make more money using it. So let's get right into it. So as I mentioned, guys, a lot of sales reps are stuck between that 2 to 5K range, okay? And they don't know why they get stuck in that range. And the simple answer to that is for two main reasons, okay? Is the offer that they're in and also their skill, okay? And in terms of their skill, it's not because you can't communicate or you can't ask questions. It's because that you don't understand what you're lacking in terms of the sales process. Because the sales process or the entire period of somebody booking a call to after the call initially is the reason why a lot of sales reps fail. Okay, so we're going to be breaking down right now, okay, a simple formula that you can actually use to find out exactly where you're lacking, inshallah. Okay, so let's first start with the call phases. So as a sales rep, you need to understand that there's three main phases that you need to analyze and see where is a bottleneck, okay? There's something called the pre-call phase, okay? So that's everything that happens prior to the conversation that you're having with the prospects. And then you have on the call process, so the actual live conversation, live call, which majority of people just focus on that mainly, okay? That's where majority of the focus in terms of identifying bottlenecks. And then we have post-call, what happens after the conversation, especially if it's a follow-up, etc., because not every deal that you're going to land in follow-ups. And businesses every year lose roughly around 20-30% of follow-ups. So as a sales rep, you're missing out a lot of money if you're not doing follow-ups properly and efficiently. Okay, so now that we know that there's actually three phases, let's start off with the pre-call phase. Okay, so in terms of the pre-call phase, we need to understand that there's few things that we need to make sure that the prospect gets or sees before it jumps on with the actual sales closer or with yourself. Okay, he needs to have sales assets. Okay, sales assets sent to him. Okay, these could be form of testimonials. I'm selling him on the method, because if the prospect hopping on a call with you and he's not sold on the method, the concept that you're trying to sell him, then you showing him XYZ features of your product and service and the price is not going to make sense because he's not sold on the method. For example, if I'm selling an ad service, a strategy in terms of ads, in terms of Facebook, if the business owner jumping on the call with me is not sold that Facebook ads is the thing that he needs, he wouldn't care about your cool, fancy 4-step-by system that you use for ads. Okay, so people need to be sold on the method, and one way to do it is sending them sales assets. The next thing is the touch points. Okay, touch points are very, very important. Okay, so the amount of touch points that the person have before the call is very, very crucial, because the more touch points, scientifically proven, that the person has, more likely than to close. And that doesn't mean like sending 50 text messages prior to the call. No, it's basically sending them sales assets, sending them different type of videos, WhatsApp messages, calls, warming up. There's another thing as well that not many people do, is once a booked call comes in, the closer doesn't even make a call. So as if you want to increase the chances of you closing that person or qualifying them, make sure that you only have qualified prospect. As soon as somebody books a call, make sure you give them a warm-up call. A warm-up call breaks that ice between the closer and the prospect, and then you can use that chance to warming him up, make sure that he has access to all the material, make sure he actually watched all the sales assets, and he's 100% warm and he's 100% sold, and he's going to show up on time. Because a lot of companies, what really kills them is no-shows. So as a sales rep, at the end of the day, you don't want 8 slots out of your day and you're only taking 4 calls. All right, that's a lot of money being lost. So you want to make sure that you can actually get most of the people to jump on a call with you, so we have the highest chances of closing more deals. Okay, so if we have everything ticked in terms of like, okay, people are getting the sales assets, you're covering all the touch points, or you're reaching out to the prospect on WhatsApp, you're sending a voice message, you're introducing yourself, you're calling him, you're warming up before the call, then you have done all the checklists prior to the call actually happening. Okay, and make sure, of course, just to make sure as a bonus tip, to make sure that person actually shows up, ensure that they actually have urgency and they're actually sold on the concept that they're jumping on a call with you. Because if they don't have a strong reason why they should hop on a call with you, they're not going to show up. Okay, so give them a good reason. Okay, and that could be in a sense of like giving them some free information on the sales call, or giving them a PDF or assets that you promised them. Okay, that's a huge point, because the way that you get people excited for jumping on a call with you is by having all the pre-qualifying or the pre-call phase structured done properly. Because when someone is very excited to jump on a call with you and he knows that he's coming into the call to get something, he's most likely to show up because he's looking to get something that you're going to give to him for free. Because nobody likes to feel like they're going to jump on a call to get sold. All right, so make them feel that they're actually going to jump on the call to receive value and to receive something in return for them to actually taking time out of their day. Otherwise, you're going to find a lot of people not showing up, they're not excited, and nobody's actually paying. Okay, so let's move on to the actual call phase. And how do we identify where are we lacking and how we can maximize making money as a sales rep? Okay, so during the call, you're going to have first your intro. Okay. Then you're gonna have your frame. Then you have the big chunk, which is discovery, and then you're gonna have your trust and pitch, which I'm gonna explain now in a second. Okay. And then you have, your closing and your objection handler. Hopefully results in dollars. So let's talk about the intro phase first of all. In terms of the intro phase, this is where you simply introduce yourself. Hey, my name is Ayub. Where are you calling from? I'm calling from San Diego. Amazing. How is the weather over there? Amazing. Are you there for business or pleasure? Cool. A quick icebreaker. If you like, if there's a painting that you genuinely like, compliment that painting. Hey, I like the painting behind you, sir. Whatever it is. Okay. Make sure that it doesn't sound like it's forced. You mirror the other person's energy. Okay. So it's a quick intro, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minute max. If they go on a tangent, no problem. But you want to get into the frame. The frame is the most important thing right here once you're starting, because your frame is going to set you up for the rest of the call. Because how you set the frame is going to allow the person to decide if they're going to be either saying no to you or yes. Okay, because people will make that decision from the start. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good your product is, if the person doesn't like you and he doesn't deem you as a sales rep as somebody that they can actually respect, or they don't deem you somebody that they know that knows what they're talking about, that then they're actually not going to buy from you. Okay, so we gotta pay attention to that. We want to make sure that people feel and know that they can actually like us and trust us, and how we can do that is through our tonality and through our frame. For example, I want to make sure that I actually share insights, beneficial insights, and key things that will make sure in the first 2 minutes of me introducing myself and framing the call that the prospect understands that I'm an authority, I know what I'm talking about, and you should respect me, and you take leadership of the call. Something like, hey, Mr. Prospect, so just to set some context to the conversation today, we work with brands that are just starting out, the brands that are doing 9 figures. And what I found works best is to first get a better understanding about where your business is at. It's the biggest bottleneck stopping you from achieving your goals. And if there's a way that we can possibly help, that means we have a couple of custom solutions that we can share with you. If not, no problem at all. I can refer you to somebody else. So a frame like this, where it sets the pace of the call, it sets the authority. We work with 9-figure brands. All right, we want to find a solution. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions just to understand where your bottlenecks are and to stop you from getting to your goals. If we can help, amazing. We have custom solutions. If we don't, what I did there is lower the sales resistance by telling them, hey, I'll refer you to somebody else. Okay, so mastering the frame is super important. Okay, so once we nail down the frame and we have that command and respect and leadership in the start, we're kind of really set, okay? And what we need to master then is the discovery phase, which is asking the right questions. So you need to follow a framework, and you need to make sure that whatever framework that you're following, which if you want to check out my personal framework, you can watch another YouTube video that I break down my $1 million framework that I use, so you can go watch that as well. But in terms of here, we want to make sure that we're asking skilled questions that identify what the person's goals are, where they're currently at, how far are they from that goal, what have they tried, what's their biggest bottlenecks, why haven't they been able to fix that by themselves. So that way we have enough ammo to then go to the trust and pitch and tailor everything that they have said to our pitch that we're going to be giving them. Okay, so the discovery phase is super important, because if you don't nail probing, asking the right questions, and following a certain framework and building a gap and selling through either the 4 Ps, which is current pain or current pleasure, or future pain or future pleasure, you're going to fail, especially if you're in B2B and also B2C. So once we master the discovery and we're able to identify that we're asking the right questions, we're building the gap, we're finding their current situation, their doubts, etc., that's when we get to the trust pillar, the trust and pitch. This is very important. A lot of people, they just get into the pitch right away, and this is not good. All right, because we need to first build trust by sharing relevant testimonials and case studies based on where they're currently at. This is where we share insights, we educate the prospect on everything. That's where we give them the free assets that we might have promised them. We show them XYZ case studies and how that transformation happened based on the pain points that you've gathered from the discovery phase. So that's where the prospect should like you and trust you, because now you're sharing insights that they never knew before. Now you have certain things that puts you as an authority. Now you're in a position to pitch, because if they don't see that you can help them by showing case studies and insights that they never knew before, they're not going to buy from you, okay? Because they don't deem you as an authority in the space, okay? Once you go through the trust pillar, that's where then you can pitch, okay? So once you can pitch, that's where you naturally give your presentation, your unique mechanism, etc. And then, of course, after you pitch, that's where you go into closing, okay? Now, here's the interesting thing about closing. Okay, so the interesting thing about closing is a lot of people think that closing is literally just objection handling and that's it. Or just saying, hey, yeah, the price is 5K, 20K, what's next? Okay, there's a framework behind closing as well. And I also have a YouTube video breaking down my closing framework and how I actually handle objections. Okay, but in terms of closing and getting to that pitch section, you want to make sure that you're tying a prospect in. You want to make sure they're actually sold on everything. So you want to tie the prospect in, and they need to be sold on your pitch. They need to be sold on your mechanism. So before jumping into price, okay, you need to make sure that you actually tie them in terms of the process. Okay, they like you and they trust you, and how you do it by asking a simple question. Okay, Mr. Prospect, before I dive into next steps, do you feel like from everything we've covered today, do you feel like this is exactly what you're looking for to get to XYZ goal that we discussed? This is where we tie them in on the process. If they say yes, amazing. What did you like the most about our process? What really stood out for you the most? And now they're actually going back and they're selling themselves on your process. Okay. Then I get into my objection handling, and I make sure that my objection handling is on point. And just to quickly run you guys through a quick objection handling framework. Again, when you're dropping the price, let's say 20K, it's either going to be three main objections: money, fear, or logistics, which can be related to partner, etc. Okay, these are like the two main. Anything else, like for example, timing, or think about it, objections, etc. Like that stuff is a smokescreen. Okay, all right. The real objections are either money, fear, or logistics. Anything else is a smokescreen, which you need to handle. Okay, so if you find yourself not being able to get over the smokescreen, such as timing, or any think about it, or logistics, or fear, or money, that means you need to now focus on the number one objection that you're getting the most, and tackling that head first, okay, by going through your sales manager or investing into a program, leveling up your objection handling skills. Okay, now objection handling is only like 20% of the entire process. Your main focus in terms of the entirety of this, it's literally going to be in three important phases. Okay, which is the frame of the call. Okay, so you need to make sure that you master the frame of the call. Next thing is the discovery. Okay, all right, you need to make sure you ace the discovery, and then you want to ace the trust pillar. Okay, because if your trust pillar and pitch suck, they're not gonna buy from you. Okay, if you don't have an amazing offer, regardless of if they like you and everything, they're not gonna buy. Okay, so these are the three main things that you need to focus that you're nailing in during the call period, so that way you can ensure that you're actually closing the prospects and you don't have any gaps initially that people are falling through. Now the last thing is going to be the post call. Okay, now majority of time if you're selling B2B, you're gonna have follow-up calls. Okay, not every deal is gonna be a closed deal. So you need to ensure that you have a post-call framework or SOP that you follow. Okay, you need to make sure that your follow-ups are on point. I have an SOP for my sales guys that they need to follow up with their prospects every 2 to 4 days. Okay, and this is not general follow-ups of like, hey, how are you? I'm just checking in. Even if somebody paid a deposit and they're starting next week, I don't care. You're following up with them every 2 to 4 days with value-based content. Okay, and by the way, as a bonus tip, you can even set a follow-up call in 2 to 4 days, even if they're starting in a month or whatever it is, they told you the money is low, etc. As a bonus tip, you can add something called a value call, which is a no pressure, no sale call. It's just you simply giving value. So you set a follow-up call, okay, with the prospect in like 2 days or 3 days, and you simply giving them value, sharing a case study, breaking down something. Okay, so you got to be prepared whenever follow-ups call happen, or if someone does a deposit and they're starting next week. That doesn't mean they're in. Even if your price point is like 5K and they put down $200, $500, they're not in. They're not sold yet. They can ghost. It's a low commitment. So you need to make sure that you're actually still providing value. You're still selling them continuously by sharing insights, testimonials, case studies, giving them calls, connecting them with like-minded individuals, adding them to a free crash course, so on and so forth. Okay. And as I mentioned, a bonus is a value call. Okay, having value conversations with them with no pressure of sale. You're simply just giving free value, and that way you're actually building more trust and you're building that your the bond and likability between you and that prospect, because nobody else in the industry is doing that. Nobody's doing a follow-up call and giving value for no return. Everybody is trying to close their prospects on the first call. So when you do this, you just stand out from the industry. Okay, you stand out and you literally become, the 1%er initially. Okay, so other ways in terms of post call, okay, which is on the marketing side or the business. So you can actually tell them to put them into a follow-up sequence where SMSs automatically send out, or follow-up emails get sent out in terms of nurturing, but most importantly ads. Okay, so if the business utilizes ads in terms of their system, you can actually add all the follow-ups or all the prospects that haven't been closed into like a custom audience. Okay, custom audience into Facebook. This is where then the ads will be targeting all those prospects that haven't purchased yet, okay, through value-based content, YouTube, etc., etc. Okay, guys, we covered it. All right, again, make sure that your pre-call process is nailed down. Make sure, secondly, that your live calls, okay, is broken down accordingly to what I've shown you guys right there, and every aspect of the call is nailed down. Once that's done, make sure the post-call process is nailed down and you're doing your follow-ups efficiently, and you're giving value up front without asking in return. That's how you make more money than business owners. Once you apply these strategies in detail into your own system and using your own script and your own offer, you're going to see a dramatic change in terms of your entire process, because now you know what to look for. Now you know what to analyze for. Because before you were blinded, you didn't know. You're just you're trying to just break down the live calls and that was it. Okay, you're just trying to find out what's missing in terms of the live call. Is my pitch bad? Is my discovery bad? But now that you know there's actually more to it. There's your frame, there's your intro, and there's your trust pillar that a lot of people don't even care about. Okay, so that being said, guys, I hope you guys got tremendous amount of value from this video. And make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum. So, by the way, if you're somebody that's a beginner or an experienced sales guy and you want to master the art of closing and you want to make more than 5K a month and get placed into an offer that allows you to make anywhere between 10 to 20, even 30 grand a month, and level up your sales skills in 90 days or less, then book a call, check our description, and we'll see if you're a great fit. Let's get back to the video.